Hey everyone! I am back with a new video, and this is going to be my 2015 video showcasing the art materials I mainly used throughout the year, so let's get started. So I still use my trusty old mechanical pencil called Pentel Techniclick in 0.5 millimeters. And of course, the lead I use along with this is also by Pentel, called AIN in 2B, because I love doing rough sketches. And I've had this for years now, so it's very much worth the money in my opinion. For my clean sketches, I use a wooden pencil, mostly because it's hard to find a 2H pencil lead, and it is called Staedtler Tradition in 2H. I also just had to include this gold DIY pencil extender. I made this myself since it gets a little tricky holding small pencils, and I couldn't justify the need to buy a pencil extender when I could make one myself. For the eraser, I use two types. The first one is this eraser pen by Faber-Castell, which was originally my dad's, but he gave it to me since he wasn't using it. And I love using this for small details, especially during the first half of the year when I was really into making ACEO artworks. And the second one is also by Faber-Castell called Space Eraser. There's nothing fancy about this eraser, to be honest. I bought it because it was cheap, which isn't really surprising, but it does a decent job at erasing, and this is the third time I've used the same exact brand and type of eraser, so I think it's pretty good. This year, I loved using charcoal for quick and super rough sketches. I even went through an entire charcoal pencil in a couple of months, which never happened with me, so that tells you something. So I decided to buy this set of woodless charcoal pencils by Mont Marte, and these are really dark, which I like because sometimes I buy willow charcoal and it's more of a dark gray than a black, and I much prefer a solid black, so that's why I loved using these. As for the sketchbooks I used this year, the first one is by the brand Moleskine, and this is their soft cover blank journal. I love using these for rough sketches and charcoal drawings because the ivory paper looks amazing with the black of the charcoal. However, I didn't really like the fact that it had so many pages since I find that rather intimidating to fill. So when I finished this sketchbook, I switched to the Moleskine Cahiers, which comes in 3 packs, and it's cheaper as long as you don't mind the paper cover, though I actually much prefer it. The other sketchbook is by the brand Reno Art, which is a hardbound sketchbook with white cartridge paper, which I prefer for ink drawings and also for colored sketches. So anytime I want to use markers or colored pencils with my quick drawings, I opt for sketchbooks with thicker paper like this. For my line art, I mainly use black ink, and for the pens, I do own a lot of different brands, but my all-time favorite and the one I really wanted to mention in this video is the Pilot G-TEC C3 black fineliner, which also comes in C4 or 0.4 millimeters. I use these a lot, and even though I've tried other brands of fine liners, I still keep coming back to this. The ink flow is amazing, and the nib doesn't get damaged, especially if you're a little rough with your materials, like myself. Another pen I've been loving is the Daiso brush pen. This is the current one I am using since the other brush pens already ran out since I used them too much. I like this one because it comes with an ink barrel, so I could just replace the ink if it runs out rather than buy another pen. This one has a felt nib though, which I'm not entirely a fan of. Ever since I tried the fiber brush nibs, those have been my current favorite, but I still use this one for thicker line arts. And lastly is this Sumi drawing ink, also by Daiso. This ink is amazing for its price, though next year I'd like to upgrade to an archival artist quality ink since this one doesn't say if it's archival. I used this a lot for my Inktober drawings, and because it's a rather large bottle, I pour small amounts into this separate container, and I use this tiny brush to create my line art. For coloring, I love to use the Copic markers. I have the Copic Chow markers because they're the cheapest among the different types of Copic markers, and they work just as fine. As for my collection, I have a total of 144 colors from the 72 set A and B of the Copic Chow markers, and along with that, I use the Copic Various ink refills because the Copic markers are refillable, which makes them worth the investment. I also use the Prismacolor Premier pencils in the 132 set, which I got earlier this year. I haven't used it as much as I would like to yet, but these are already a favorite, therefore mentioned in this video. The colors are just so pigmented, which help create rich and vibrant artworks. Along with that, I also use the Lyra Rembrandt-Polycolor pencils, which I purchased individually. I mainly use light flesh, medium flesh, and Venetian red for adding touches of color to some of my sketches. And another medium I use is watercolors, and the one I'm currently using is by Mont Marte. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that this product got discontinued since I can't find it on their website or at the store that I purchased it from, which was a couple of years ago. For the brush, I like to use the Pentel Aquash water brush, which is a great tool for on-the-go painting, though I mainly use it because I'm lazy. And I also use the Art Spectrum white gouache as an alternative for a white fineliner because I can't seem to find a white fineliner that works for me. And this one I use for highlights and finishing touches on an artwork. The paper I use for rough sketches of any artwork that I want to make on a loose piece of paper is the Reflex 80 GSM bond paper or printer paper. You can use other brands or cheaper alternatives such as recycled paper since this is only for sketching, but this is the paper we use at home, so it's pretty much readily available for me to use. Then I transfer that sketch onto another paper where I will add the line art and the coloring. And I like to use the Quill Multiboard 200 GSM white paper in A4 size. In the future, I'd like to work with larger surfaces, but so far storage is a bit of a problem. So for now, A4 is the largest surface I work on. I use this for Copic marker drawings because of the smooth texture of the paper, and it's thick, so it holds the Copic ink well, even with multiple layers. For watercolor, I like to use this one by Mont Marte, which is the 300 GSM cold pressed watercolor pad in A4. I prefer a rough tooth for my watercolor papers since I like the effect it gives, and I also prefer the paper to be 300 GSM since I tend to use a lot of water, and even though I stretch my paper, it still buckles. And yeah, those are the art materials I've currently been using and loving for the year of 2015. These are also some of the things I would recommend, which has a mix of fairly expensive and inexpensive materials. You can also use this as a guide of what tools I like to use and what tools you might want to purchase for yourself as well if you like the way I've used them in some of my drawings. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Once again, my social media links are all listed in the description box, as well as the items mentioned in this video. For my social media, I have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Tumblr. You can also check out my Society 6 shop for my art merchandise, and you can also find my email in the description box if you want to contact me personally. That is it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.